Okay, full disclosure time. Apparently the webpage I've been replying to last week and today has been taken down. I found out recently it redirects to lifesitenews.com. I like to think that my responses to the first half of their questions last week were so powerful they took it down knowing there was no way they could respond. Hey, you don't get to come out here outside of the studio when I'm monologuing. Now, where were we with the questions? Christians. So who are these crazy people who believe in the imaginary man in the sky? Are they actually crazy, or are they simply stupid? If the children of atheists are raised to believe the supposedly plentiful evidence that we have that proves the absence of a universal architect, then how can these Christian people continue to believe in God? Can your children be raised to trust them? And what happens if the Christians are right and there is a God? Nice twisting of words. There is no evidence that proves the absence of a universal architect. But the fact that there is no evidence that leans towards the existence of one is what makes me an atheist, and that's also the argument I use when talking to my children. I explain to them that some people believe, and they are to respect that. If they go to the home of a friend or family member who does believe in a divine being, they are to respect that, bow their heads at dinner, or whatever is expected. You don't have to share a person's belief to be able to respect them having that belief, just as I would want my lack of belief to be respected. My son is currently reading the Bible right now to get a better understanding of the belief of a majority of the world. If Christians, or any religious sect, are right, and there are gods, then I would expect there to be evidence to back up their claims. Yes, as I've said before, lack of evidence is not evidence of lack, but you would expect a god, especially one that wanted to be believed in, to show some kind of proof of their existence. The human spirit. I have never met an atheist that believes in the human spirit. Despite experiencing love, and despite actually having a spirit, atheists insist on believing it is all nothing more than chemical reactions in the brain. Well, you're not looking hard enough then. I know of and have met atheists who believe in a soul. They just don't think a god was the cause of it. I'm not one of them, but they do exist. I even married one. Accepting that the human spirit exists is the first step on the path to knowing God, and this is precisely what scares them. Even though they sense their own spirits, they choose to deny them for fear of what it will lead to. I don't sense a spirit. I have a sense of consciousness, which can be explained by natural forces and evolving as a tool-using social species. We humans thrived by understanding and manipulating the world, so being able to think about the world expanded our sense of self, leading to consciousness. Nothing about that scares me. Not believing in the spirit is the peak of personal ignorance. More ignorant than our belief in Noah's Ark even. But I get it. What I don't get is someone being able to look at their child in the eye and say, "Son, you don't have a spirit, you're just flesh and bone. When you die, you die. Technically, you're no better than a sewer rat." Yes, when we die, we die. Our family lost someone who meant a lot to us, and we will never get them back, no matter how much we wish to. My son had to learn that the hard way. That's why it's important to celebrate the life we have now. It will be over at some point, so why waste it? I don't see why not believing in a spirit is the peak of personal ignorance. I have not seen any evidence of a spirit or soul or anything supernatural. If evidence is presented, then I'll change my mind. But it's not ignorance to reject a claim that does not have any evidence behind it. In fact, it seems to me to be promoting ignorance to accept a claim without any kind of evidence to back it up. As for being better than a sewer rat, well, that's a value call. We have given value to other human beings because, well, we are human. In general, we empathize with and see similarities in other people more than animals and give them greater value. If the tables were turned, I'm sure a sewer rat would give more value to their own kind than humans. World-class f***wit Richard Dawkins said that teaching your children about religion is akin to child abuse. How then does he view telling your children they have no spirit? Should that not be another matter for the child to decide based on their own pursuit of truth and knowledge, let alone their own sentiments to the contrary? First off, I have to say, this is the first thing I've ever read discussing raising children that had the word f***wit in it. Way to keep things classy. I don't know how Dawkins feels. As I said at the beginning, I can only answer for myself. I am not Professor Dawkins, so I can't tell you how he thinks. In fact, while I respect his knowledge in biology, I disagree with some things he has said about social and political trends. As a side note, from what I understand, he's not saying that teaching about religion is child abuse, but rather foisting your beliefs on children who are too young to understand and make an educated decision, and telling them this is what you must believe about the world is an abusive act. As for myself, since there's no evidence that there's a soul, I have no reason to teach my children that there is one. If they want to believe one exists, I will challenge them on it, but I can't stop them thinking. Nor would I ever want to. The point of this post is not to patronize, but to generally ask how these very important questions get addressed. Children are so vulnerable and so in need of love and guidance that everything we tell them matters, and the truth that atheists purport seems one too cold and too hopeless to share with society's smallest and most spiritual members. Well, if you didn't mean to patronize, then sadly, you failed. Many of these questions and claims came off as arrogant and without an attempt to understand how atheists really think. When my children became old enough, I decided I would teach my kids to be skeptical about the world, question everything, including what I tell them, and use evidence and reasoning to come to conclusions. I think this is better than to deliberately lie and give false hope about things we have never had any evidence for. Teaching them to think for themselves is, I believe, the best kind of guidance needed. You may think my outlook on life is cold, but the universe doesn't care what we think about it. It is what it is. And I don't think us being the result of natural processes is a cold thought, but rather an amazing one. Our ancestors came from simple, single-celled creatures to ones that could manipulate the world, make great discoveries, and create works of art without any need for a supernatural guide. I find that amazing and awe-inspiring. I've made a lot of educated assumptions in this post, and it's one of the few times that I truly hope I'm wrong. Well then, fortunately, you are. I guess we can both be happy about that. As always, if any of you out there come across anything you think I should go over, or just have questions of your own, please send them my way.